let's hang out for the week. Good morning, it is Monday the 16th of June and we're going to have a little bit of crafting time together this week, and I do mean a little bit. So this is one of those weeks where we've got all the extra appointments and meetings and deliveries and stuff happening, so we're going to see what we get done. It's Monday the 16th of June, it's quite warm outside. I've already been out and watered the garden because we forgot to do it last night, and I've got a little bit of housework to do, but then we're going to dive into getting some making done, see what I can get done before I go to work today. And yeah, we're just going to take each day as it comes, see how much we achieve. So without any further ado, I best go and get the housework done and reward myself with some making time. So yeah, I'll catch you in a bit. Okay, so I've done my housework, or at least what I could cope with. It's currently 10 o'clock, so we've watered the garden, we've done the washing up that was left from last night, we've cooked up the pasta ready for pasta salad for dinner tonight because it's too hot to be cooking in the evenings, and we've watered the house plants, all that kind of stuff is done. A few other bits and bobs here and there. And now we are going to get a couple of hours of knitting in before work, or before lunch, and then work. So I've cast on this month's gnome because I haven't done that yet. I've got a couple of weeks to get it done, so that's fine, to get it posted into Imagine Landscapes forums and stuff. So yeah, I've got to get a start on it. It's a long tail cast on. I should do it the first colour change because I'm doing the Someone to Write Gnome About mini pattern. I was going to do the full size one, but I'm working with scraps. Not totally convinced I've got enough of the colours for what the mini calls for the body and the legs and stuff. And I'm not too worried about the hat and the socks because I've got this. This is West Yorkshire Spinners Nutcracker, I believe, whereas this is a combination of the leftover yarns from the gnomes I've already done. So some from Yarn Unique and some, I can't remember the name of the other die, but I'll put it on the screen. So they're the leftovers from the 6 gnomes that I've done so far. 4 of them are quite big and 2 of them are tiny, but they were like 2 sets of minis, they're 20 gram minis, so they've done quite well on the yardage. But this one has a striped chevron-y hat, so I was looking in my stash for some sock striping yarn, and I've got leftover West Yorkshire Spinners. It's not necessarily the cleanest of stripes because they do the patterning in between, but it'll do the job. I'm just going to cut off most of this tail because that's just going to get in the way as I knit up the hat. She does actually tell you in the instructions to trim it to about 4 inches, so it's around about there will do. And I'm going to keep going on that for a bit. Hopefully I'll get the hat done. We'll see how far we go. Hopefully my little tiny squirrel on my microphone is also preventing the sound of the fan from coming through, but we'll see when I edit. We'll see how far we get with the gnome this week. Like I said, I've got a couple of weeks to complete it, so we'll see. And I have got other projects to be getting on with as well this week. Some knitting, some hand sewing. Still waiting on my fabrics to come through for my dressmaking, which is just as well because the temperature's going to be quite warm by the end of this week, so don't really fancy crawling around the floor cutting out fabric in high 20s, low 30s. Well, high 20s it was forecasted. It's probably going to feel like low 30s in my living room because of the glass wall. So anywho, I'm going to get cracking with this and I'll give you an update a little bit later on, and we'll just track the progress across the course of the week. It's going to be like a Monday to Friday vlog this week, so that I can get it edited and up to you for Saturday. At least that's the plan. Hopefully I'll get done in time, but you never know, it might be a little bit late. But yeah, it is what it is. It's one of those weeks where I've got work today, work Wednesday but Thursday, appointments Tuesday, deliveries Wednesday, appointments Friday. So we're going to get little snippets in where we can. Okay. Okay, so we are about 10 to 12, so almost time for lunch. And we've made a bit of progress. You see the chevrons starting to appear through the stripes on this yarn. This is what I mean by not being the clean stripes. We've got these patterned bits in between, but that'll still give us the effect that we're looking for. The stitch count for the hat is a standard sock stitch count, not for my feet, but for people with smaller feet. So yeah, the sock yarns should stripe up as expected, with it being a sock yarn stitch count. I suspect, although I have the pattern for the larger one, I've only looked at the yarn requirements. I didn't look at the actual pattern itself. I suspect that the hat on the other one will also be a fairly standard sock count. So yeah, your sock yarns should behave how you would think they would behave. Okay, so with that being said, time for me to get some lunch and head to work. So I'll be picking this up again later. I may or may not pop on to give you an update this evening, but I'll certainly be on tomorrow. So yeah, progress has been made. Okay, so it's Tuesday. I've got an appointment this afternoon, so I've got the morning to continue working on my gnome hat. You see the stripes are coming up there. You can maybe start to make out the chevron patterning. So we'll see how far we get on this today. Should get the hat done today. I might be switching to something else later on, a different gauge, to give my hands and wrists a break. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how I feel after our appointment this afternoon as to what I then pick up after that. But this morning we're working on gnome hat. I do to say have a few projects on the go at the moment, so we'll try and get a bit of progress made on each of them over the course of the week, because that way they all get progressed and hopefully won't languish for quite so long. It is warm again today. I'm in very thin fabrics and shorts, and weather report this morning suggests that the temperature is only going to be going upwards this week, so my inside temperature with my air conditioning unit on is 26.5 degrees C. It's probably a little cooler outside because there's a breeze, and I have a glass door on the back of my living room, so that always raises the temperature a bit, particularly in the mornings. But yeah, hopefully it's not going to be too bad to walk into town this afternoon for our appointment and walk back again. Apparently it's going to be upper 20s, possibly into the 30s by the weekend. I am not a hot weather bunny. Oh, you know it's going to get warm for the UK when the BBC weather presenter uses the term scorchio. But, yeah, Brits of a certain age will definitely get that one. I don't know if it was the Fast Show. I don't know if that made it to other countries or not, but very 90s comedy. So yeah, so I'm going to keep working on the hat. I don't think I mentioned this yesterday, I have marked the beginning of round-ish, because it's one of those stitch patterns where the beginning of round moves. But I've marked it ish with this little teacup stitch marker for my birthday a couple of weeks ago. My dad and my stepmum got myself and my husband a pair of vouchers for a Prosecco cream tea in town, so we need to book that in at some point. But to go with that, I also got a little set of afternoon tea themed stitch markers from Chapel View Crafts. My stepmom is also a knitter and spinner and crafty kind of person. So yeah, so working on that this morning. See how far we get. We are in the decreases, so you keep going until we've got 16 stitches left apparently, so much like decreasing for a toe, just with the chevron stitch pattern added, and it's obviously not as curved a decrease as you'd do for a toe. But, yeah, it's not bad. And yeah, the stripes are turning out quite nice. And as I was saying in my previous clip, it's a sock standard stitch count, so that you cast on. So yeah, the stripes should behave well. I didn't get any knitting done last night after work. Just kind of melted into the armchair and chatted with the husband, who wasn't gaming in the evening as he normally is, because his gaming setup is in the bedroom and hot air rises, so that room gets very warm at the moment. We do have 2 Black & Decker air conditioning units, one in the bedroom and one in the living room. They're ones that you put like ice and water in the back to cool the air down, so they are pretty good. But I think the new gaming PC is kicking out a bit more heat than anticipated, and plus, as I say, heat rises, so the bedroom always gets extra warm. Yeah, you never know, I might make it into the garden if it's not too horrifically hot and sticky at the weekend, and just sit and do some knitting out there. Maybe Friday after the haircut if it's not too hot. Thursday before work, because I don't work into the evenings on Thursdays. Could even do tomorrow morning, I suppose, or this morning if I feel like it could go later. We need to cut the grass though. If we've got the grass cut, I might go out into the garden for a bit. I might take the cat with me. So it's a job that we're putting off because of the heat. So, and then the grass itself isn't growing particularly quickly. It's the dandelions, which is just a sign of how dreadful the soil is around here. They are now at least only in specific parts of the garden. They're not all across the back garden. They're all across the front, but they're not all across the back garden. So, you know, that's showing improvement. So, they do look pretty. In a sort of meadow-like way. So, yeah. That's a job for this week, getting the grass cut. Tomorrow's a delivery day. I'm not here for the... I'm hoping I'm not here for the delivery. I'm getting a new freezer. Yay! We've nearly got a new fridge freezer to replace the one in the kitchen, because that decided to not be working properly over the weekend. But, we realised it just needed a good clean, so yeah. But fridge freezers being fridge freezers and having a tiny kitchen, the one that we could get only has a tiny freezer section. And we'd quite like to buy in bulk a bit more, so we have invested in a second freezer. So that'll about triple our freezer space, which is good, because that'll help save us a fair amount of money. There's a store in the UK called Farm Foods, which specialises in frozen food, and they're, I believe, the same company, the same group as a shop called Iceland, which also specialises in frozen foods, but Farm Foods seems to do more in bulk, and it seems to be a little bit cheaper. So we can buy like 5 kilos of meat and stuff. We know this because during lockdown, my husband and his brother went and bought 5 kilos of frozen chicken that I had to then try and work out how to fit into our already full freezer. So, yeah, so that'll be useful. So, and hopefully save us a bit of money in the long run. But, yeah, so that's arriving tomorrow at some point. They've given us a wonderful 7 till 7 delivery slots so far. Hoping to get a message later on to say that it's coming in the afternoon and that I don't have to deal with it. So I will, of course, today be making space in the hall for it, because that's where it's going to sit. It's not going to fit in the kitchen, so I need to rearrange the hall a bit for it, which is fine. So that's a job for this afternoon, because then the husband can help me. I suppose there's not too much of a problem if the freezer arrives before I go to work. It only needs unpacking and plugging in. and we don't need to really plug it in, switch it on until later in the week when we're ready to go down to Farm Foods. They don't deliver, so we're going to have to go down. So we'll be doing that on a day where I'm not working. Husband is talking about doing it on Friday after my haircut, which is fine. But there's no waiting area at my hairdresser's, so I'm not quite sure where he's going to sit. So his barber's, on the other hand, has a nice little waiting area. But, the hairdresser's over a couple of floors, so smaller rooms in quite an old building. The barber's is a bigger room, so it's a bit more spread out, a little bit more room. And they quite often only have like the one client in at a time. Sometimes the couples quite often only the one barber on. But, so it's a little bit easier to, you know, hang out whilst the husband's having his hair done than someone hanging out at the hairdresser's. But we'll make it work. And we could always do Saturday instead, as long as we've got stuff in. Fill that freezer up, because that's the goal, is to get the new freezer full, and then I can just do like fridge top-ups and fresh food top-ups across the course of the month, which I could conceivably do in person rather than ordering, which again could save us a bit of money. So yeah, that's the plan. But this is why it's a busy week, a bit of a funny week this week, because just all this stuff happening that we don't normally have happening. So I don't get my hair cut every week. We don't have a new freezer arriving every week. We don't have appointments every week. So we fit these things in and we craft around it. But, yeah. Right here, I'm going to keep going with this hat. And hopefully by the time I come back to you, we'll have a completed gnome hat, and then we'll decide whether we're going to carry on with the gnome, or whether we're going to pick up my sweater project, which will depend on the temperature. If it's hot, so I don't really want a lump of knitting on my lap. But I do also have some hand embroidery and hand sewing to get on with. So I started a top a couple of years ago, I think. Yeah, probably a couple of years ago, maybe 3, that I wanted to do as a completely hand-sewn project. So I need to finish the embroidery on that so that I can actually do the construction bit. And I have a sneaking suspicion that I didn't leave a large enough seam allowance for hand sewing, which is fine, I can make it work. It'll just be a little bit more tricky than it maybe needed to be, so that's fine. So yeah, the embroidery needs finishing to the point where I'm ready to sew seams up anyway. Right, so yeah, pop back when I've got a little bit more to update you on. Okay, so this will be my final Tuesday check-in. I'll check in again tomorrow. You can probably see I've got a coat rack behind me now. I've not changed rooms, and we're just clearing space in the hall for the new freezer to get delivered tomorrow. So obviously going to have enough room for it to come in and get unpacked. So I've cleared it all out. We think this is going to fit between the bottom of the stairs and the new freezer, but we'll find out for sure tomorrow. Assuming we've measured correctly and allowed for enough skirting boards, we should be fine. It'll be a bit of a tight squeeze at the bottom of the stairs, but given that we have been storing stuff in that spot for goodness knows how long, we're kind of used to that, so that's fine. If it doesn't fit, we'll just put hooks up on the wall, which will be plan B. So yeah, so that's going to sit here for tonight and for probably tomorrow. Hopefully get it back in place on Thursday. And knitting wise, I am almost at the end of the hat. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, about 8 more rows to do, and then that's done. So I'll get that done tonight, show you in the morning. But my hands are feeling the gauge now, so I should have to swap onto something else in a bit. But yeah, so that's the update for now. Appointment went fine this afternoon. It's just a bog standard appointment, nothing to worry about. Nice walk into town in the heat. We should have taken water, we didn't. But, and yeah, all's good, all's good. Does mean I didn't have as much crafting time as I normally have on a Tuesday, because normally Tuesday is a day off, as is Friday, because the business is shut on Fridays. I solo work on Mondays, so the boss does Tuesdays. Yeah, so all's good, and I will catch you in the morning, which will be Wednesday. Good morning. Got my tea. It's an early start today. I will try and edit out the swallow sounds because I don't know if everybody likes that. It's early start today because the freezer's coming today and they've still only given us a 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. slot. So I've had an early start. But I did finish my gnome hat last night. The pattern does call for it to be blocked, and it does get sewn on without stuffing, so I will probably do that later, or in a day or two. So yeah, that is done. Not quite sure what project I'm going to pick up to work on this morning. Maybe the embroidery, maybe the sweater. Something I can put down quite easily when the freezer arrives, if it arrives before I go to work. But first, housework, and I'll be back in a bit. Might finish my tea first. Oh, before I pop off and finish my tea, but didn't do the housework. Just switched on the community feature on YouTube. There was a community posts feature previously. This is like an expansion and an evolution of that, as far as I can tell. So for the community posts, I could post something, you could respond, so I could put up polls and that sort of stuff. The community feature as it is now, as I understand it, allows subscribers to start threads, I believe. So that's been switched on. So in theory, if there's something that you want to ask people, I want a bit of help on something, or something you want to ask me that I haven't covered in a video or that I haven't put a post up for, feel free to pop over to the community tab and stick a post in there yourself. If it doesn't let you, there is a welcome post there, so you can let me know underneath that if you can't work out how to do it, because it's brand new and I only had an email off it this morning, which I saw at like 6:30, so still working it out. But it's there and it's switched on if you want to go and have a chat. And there's also down below the videos, obviously, each time where you can have a chat as well. So yeah, go for it, try to have a play around with that, explore it, see what it's about. And yeah, I'll see you in a sec once I've fully caffeinated. And yeah, I've been up for about an hour, so I'm not quite ready for the day yet. Okay, so no sign of the freezer yet. It's 20 to 11 and I've been mostly melting. Haven't been able to get going with any knitting or embroidery because headspace. But I am just about to start using this cone of yarn. It's a sugar and cream cone. I'm going to make a replacement dishcloth. No, a dishwasher. We have one dishcloth that is on its way out. So I'm going to start working on a new one, and hopefully the fan isn't too loud because I've had to turn it up and put the ice in because it's hot. So yes, I'm going to put that cone on the ground and start chaining. But, yeah, so I've got an hour and a bit before lunch. So we'll see how far we get with this. Hopefully get it finished this evening. So I'll show you when I've got a bit of progress done. So it's Thursday afternoon. The freezer successfully arrived yesterday, so that's out in the hallway. And we do have a little bit of a tight squeeze. We've put the coat rack back, but that's going to get switched out for hooks on the wall eventually. So that'll ease things up a bit, and we'll also be storing our winter coats away, so we haven't done that yet, so taking a bit more space than is necessary at this time of year. We decided this morning, last minute, to do the top-up shop for the freezer this morning. I say top-up, the stocking up of the new freezer this morning. So we went down to Farm Foods and did that, which means I've not done any grafting just yet, and I'm a little bit distracted by a game on the iPad, so we'll see how much I get done this afternoon. I'm not working till this evening. I just have an hour's lesson to teach, so it's not a long shift or anything today, which means I have until about 5:30 to get stuff done. So this is how far I got on my washcloth, my dishcloth yesterday. It's a waffle stitch. I do like my dishcloths to have a bit of texture to them. I find it easier for dealing with stubborn bits of stuff on plates and things. It's a little bit bigger than some of the dishcloths I've done before, I think. It feels a little bit bigger at the moment. There's a border to go on as well. But that's not necessarily a problem for a dishcloth or even for a washcloth. You want something slightly larger. And the pattern, it's available for free on a blog, or you can pay like £3 for an ad-free version. But the pattern does tell you the number for the repeat, so you can adjust the size if you want to. So you could do a smaller size if you wanted, or even a bigger one if you wanted it for like a tea towel or something. So that's what I'm working on at the moment. I would do the embroidery on my hand sewn top, but I've got the curtain shut for the heat to keep the sun out, and being a Raimi, it's not a smooth texture, so the transfer didn't go on amazingly well in the first place, and then obviously over time it's faded slightly. So although I can still see the markings, I do have to reference them against the tracing paper, so I'd rather have a bit better light to get started on the mirroring of the embroidery. So that might have to wait till the weather cools down a little bit, because there's going to be a few days in a row now where we're going to need to keep the curtain shut to keep the sun out of the living room. And maybe we're on 27 degrees at the moment with the air conditioning unit on cool, so it's going to be warm for a few days, people. I might be melting. So it might be a week or two before I get much done on that. But hey ho. Yes, I'm going to go with this. I might do a bit of knitting later, either on the gnome or my socks that are just out of my handbag. I haven't touched them properly for a little while, so I might put a few more rows on them this evening. I may or may not sit in it when I'm at the hairdresser tomorrow. I do normally take my knitting with me, but I don't normally get it out, so we'll see. That's all I've got on this morning, which is in the morning, which is just as well. The rest of the day I've got to myself. Tomorrow's meant to hit about 30 degrees, 29, something like that, in my area. So glad I've only got something on first thing in the morning. I can come home and just melt for the rest of the day, and probably empty the stuff that we just filled the freezer up with. It wasn't a bad shop. We got enough to fill the freezer, the new freezer, and a few bits that don't go in the freezer as well. So we did quite well. Once you take off the amount that was stuff not going on in the freezer, it was quite a nice spend to fill that freezer. So yeah, pleased with that. I just need to work out how many bits of chicken are in the 5 kilo bag or 2 kilo bag. I can't remember what size it was. Massive bag of frozen chicken. I need to work out how many pieces of chicken are in that so that I can meal plan, and see how long that will last us for. And future shops obviously not be as big, because I'm not going to wait for the freezer to be empty to top it up again. So I'm going to get on with this, and I'll catch up with you maybe before I go to work if I have time, or if I remember. Failing that, I will catch up with you tomorrow and let you know how I've got on with my dishcloth, and you'll get to see the new hair. It'll be very much like this, just a bit shorter, but you know what I mean. Okay, so let's get cracking. Okay, I've got the mic plugged in because it needs charging, and I hadn't done that. So, yeah, we'll see how it works with the cable plugged into it. means I can hold it like all the young YouTubers do. So I'm giving my hands a bit of a break. It's now 10 to 3, so I've had a few hours working on this dishcloth, well, a couple of hours working on this dishcloth. So I've made a bit of progress. We're now about 3 times wider than it was. It's quite hard going on the hands. I'm on a smaller hook than the yarn called for. I think it's a size up from what I think the pattern might call for a 3.75. I'm on a 4mm. Yarn called for like a 5.5, something like that. So it's a relatively tight gauge for the yarn, so it's quite hard on the hands. So yeah, just give my hands a little bit of a break with the YouTubes and with my iPad game. Time for a refreshing cold brew tea with the ice. And I really hope the fan isn't causing too many sound issues, because otherwise this is going to be a nightmare to edit. But hey ho, there we go. I've still got a couple of hours before I need to think about getting ready for work. I don't need to be there till a little after 6, just after 6. So I don't need to leave till about 5:30. So I've got a bit of time, get a bit more done. Yeah, it's still rather warm. We are on 27 degrees in the living room with the curtain shut and the air conditioner on the cooling function and on level 2 of wind. So if it is sounding quite noisy, that is why. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to carry on watching some YouTube, rest my hands a little bit, and it's probably going to be tomorrow now by the time I catch up with you again, because I'm just going to be working on this dishcloth for the rest of the afternoon until it's time to put something work appropriate on and head out into the heat again. It's going to be one of those weeks. Okay, so stay frosty, and I'll see you in the morning. Okay, welcome to Friday morning. Put your fingers out the shop, see show you the river behind me, hopefully. You might be able to hear it babbling away. There we go, there's the river. So we're expecting 30-degree temperatures today. But I've got a hairdresser's appointment this morning, so I'm on my way to that. So yeah, I've got 20 minutes before I need to be there, and it's about 5 minutes away. Just chilling for a moment in the park. I didn't bring my microphones with me today, so hopefully the sound is not too bad. It's a nice breeze, which is cooling it down a bit. We're not expecting 30 degrees till lunchtime-ish, I think. And possibly higher tomorrow. So trip to the hairdressers, quick whiz around. Probably Lidl, because that's right next to the hairdressers. And then we'll decide if I'm walking back or if I'm getting a cab, or if I'm going to pop into the new wool shop. The old wool shop, the old yarn shop, shut down as I was going up to Edinburgh. By the time I got back, a new yarn shop had opened. Some of the same people, because Fullback Fibres used to help out at the yarn shop that we had, and there was an employee, so they've clubbed together and opened up a new store. So there was at least one employee, there might have been more, I only met the one. So yes, they've opened up a new store a bit further to the other side of town, which is it's fine, it's just by one of the bigger supermarkets. So yeah, we like some of the bakery stuff from Lidl, so I'll probably pop into there and get some treats. I normally do that after a haircut. And yeah, if it's too hot by the time I'm done, I'll get a cab back rather than walk back. So I'm not built to heat. Neither is the rest of the UK, so you know, I'm in good company. Okay, well, should probably think about heading over to the hairdressers. Okay, so yeah, hair done. A little bit shorter for the hotter weather. I get it cut to this kind of length-ish every sort of 10 weeks or so. Did the little shop, bought a bit more than anticipated. Oh well. So now I went in for milk and pretzels, that kind of thing. And yeah, came back with the ingredients for a couple of quiches, so nothing too terrible, nothing too outlandish, but yeah, a bit of a bigger shop than I'd anticipated. And I did go down and pop into the Wallhaven, which is the new yarn shop in town. I mean, it's the same people that was doing Perlereau, apart from the owner, because she's moving away, unfortunately. So the stock is largely the same. They bought out some of her stock, and it's in an old, well, it used to be a bridal wear store, so it's the setup is nice for a yarn shop. So they've got the yarn at the front, they've got a sit and stitch section at the back where the dressing rooms, trying on rooms would have been for the bridal store. And yeah, it's quite pleasant. I didn't buy anything there though, because I was specifically considering cottons. I have a summer cotton mesh top that I want to crochet, but they don't currently have any cottons in. They were in the process of sampling some cotton blends though, so I did get like a sneak peek of some of those, which was lovely. I had a bit of a chat, so that's always nice. So yeah, so that's all the stuff that I needed to get done today. So I'm going to have an afternoon of continuing to work on my dishcloth. I might do a bit more of the gnome as well. He's still only a hat, and I feel like my gnome probably needs a body. I don't know what you call a gnome without a body. So yeah, so I'll need to get on with that. So I may do that a bit later on as well. We're at 1:45 now, so we'll see how we go. It was very warm outside, but there was a nice pleasant breeze. So by the time I was coming back, it was very warm rather. There was a nice pleasant breeze though, so it wasn't too sort of horrific being out and about. The temperature in my living room at the moment is 27 degrees, which is not too bad. Well, it doesn't feel too bad. It doesn't feel like 27 degrees. We should be around about 29, 30 degrees outside at the moment, I believe. And I do have my fan on, because that's going to be a permanent feature for the next little while. I think we're due potentially a thunderstorm on Sunday, so that should break the heat. But yeah, so I'm going to carry on with this. So thank you so much for spending some time with me this afternoon. I look forward to seeing you in my next video. In the meantime, there is this one here that may be of interest to you, and I will see you soon. But until then, happy crafting and bye-bye for now.